So I jumped at it and been here for like 7 years and survived COVID, did all that stuff. Businesses went down and I'm here and it's a beautiful thing. Morris Cerullo had a vision to build something that was bigger than him, something that was going to outlive him. And I was like, dude, this is my last toy drive. It's what, like, I'm not there anymore. You know what I'm saying? So for me right now, it's be still, and it's a beautiful thing. Like after the first one that I did, I was driving home and I was just like, man, I can go be with the Lord right now. Like if we died in a crash right now on the way home, I'm good. Not my past disqualifies me. I don't believe that at all anymore. I'm a high school dropout. I was born in Tijuana. I was dyslexic. I don't say it much. Opened up so many other opportunities, and sometimes we're so scared to say yes to that thing that someone's going to look at you different for doing that or whatever it might be, and you live in that fear or you live in that people-pleasing mentality. And when you stop doing that and you're just obedient and you just say yes to that thing that is being presented to you, God may open up doors that you never imagined, and that's what happened with me. Just being obedient to the yes. Just, your obedience, like someone is counting on your yes, because some of the cool, amazing things that we've been able to do in some of the juvenile halls that we've been into, in some of the prisons and stuff that we've been into, like, is because we said yes. So someone's blessing is waiting for you on the other side of your yes, and it's like, just do the thing, say yes and just go, and you'll see that God's going to open up doors.
Welcome to the Maven workshop. Welcome to the
Thank
podcast.
you.
I want to start off today and get a little bit of background from you. So if you could just tell the audience your name and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, my name is Ruben Torres. I'm a community guy out here in San Diego. I'm from South San Diego, born in Tijuana, but from South San Diego. Grew up in a little community we like to call the South Town, and grew up with a group of guys that are still my core group of friends to this very day. So like 40 years later, we're all still hanging tough.
40.
Man, I've known these guys since diapers, so yeah, like
Yeah.
45 years or something. Yeah, but yeah, I jumped in the entertainment industry and um, had the opportunity to do a lot of cool stuff with a lot of cool people in the entertainment industry, and then got into doing like video projects, all that stuff. And one day, a guy asked me if I would bring a basketball down to Tijuana. He wanted to bless some of the kids in TJ, and that planted the seed for the Love Thy Neighbor movement. And then I did community work for like 16 years through Love Thy Neighbor. And yeah, I mean, it's been a journey since then. Trying to keep the balance of, family, business, community, doing outreach stuff takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
And just trying to keep the sanity of trying to walk this walk with the Lord and still try to be a good dad and a good husband and all that good stuff. And
Yeah.
it's a crazy balance, but I've been blessed to be able to do some of that stuff and still keep my sanity. And it's been a blessing the whole way around. Now I'm at the Morris Cerullo at the Legacy Center over in Mission Valley in San Diego. I'm the creative director over here, which I don't know what that means, but I'm just here,
It's the
doing some.
title, right? It's just the title they put on the job.
Yeah. And I'm just here, and God's just doing some amazing stuff over here, and I'm just kind of um, waiting to see what He does next.
Awesome. Um, you talked about the Legacy Center. Tell me a little bit. We'll kind of run backwards a little bit, but how did you end up there?
Honestly, I don't know how I ended up here. I want to say someone found me through LinkedIn and reached out. I got a phone call one day and said, "Hey, do you have time to do a phone interview?" And I was like, "What is this for?" And they told me about this center that was being built, and they were looking for someone that did like talent buying. Like they wanted to start creating like a venue, like a theater to book acts and book talent,
Uh-huh.
concerts, comedy, all that stuff. And I was like, dude, I'm all about that. And it was all faith based. So I'm like, dude, what? You're doing what? Yeah, let me in. What I got to do? And I mean, I'd been touring most of my adult life, and I needed some stability. I needed I needed just to stay home and be with the family. And probably been touring since I was like maybe 25, 26 or something like that. And no matter how fancy the bus is, it's still a bus. No matter how fancy the hotel is, it's still a hotel. You're living out of a bag,
Yeah, yeah,
and yeah, you get to see all these different places and all these different faces, but like you don't really get to like visit. Like you pop in and out the venue, and then you're gone.
yeah.
And so, I've been doing that for far too long, and I just when this opportunity came up for me to be able to like stay home and still be involved in the entertainment aspect of things and it for, being faith based. Um, yeah, so I jumped at it and been here for like 7 years and survived COVID, did all that stuff. Businesses went down and I'm here and it's a beautiful thing. Morris Cerullo had a vision to build something that was bigger than him, something that was going to outlive him, and
Leave a legacy, right?
so yeah, left a legacy, and and it's one of the things that we learn, like, being here is like, that just everything the way like that he thought was just next level, and yeah, you learn a lot from just kind of sitting in on a simple meeting with a guy like that. And so yeah, so here I am trying to figure it all out and it's a lot of responsibility too when someone builds a $200 million facility, some say in what happens here, it's like
Yeah.
it's a lot of responsibility and it's a beautiful thing. So yeah, bringing in stuff and you know working on the events team and doing all that stuff under his daughter Susan, and it's a lot of responsibility, and I'm honored to be here. And it's one of those places where you get to work. It's
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, every job is going to have their like, yeah, this one it's like, dude, we're walking around this beautiful facility all day, and it's amazing. It's an amazing place to be. So I get to work here.
That's awesome. You talked a little bit about the faith-based part of it. And so the business or the industry, I guess, music industry, entertainment industry that you were in prior to, was there any kind of faith-based part of that that you were connected with, or was it all secular as a mix, or how did that?
I started in the Christian industry, through Rescue Records, which was PUD's record label
Okay.
down in Chula Vista, and so we had a chance to like sign a lot of cool artists that were coming up at the time, and I was able to put on some cool events and do some cool stuff at the time. Uh, yeah, being involved in the Christian industry, you know, it kind of jaded me a little bit,
Mm,
because in the industry, in the Christian industry, it's like at the time, I don't know how it is now, but at the time, everything was just really like it felt like a facade. Like people would just come at you and like,
mm,
no, brother, this is in Jesus' name. This is what it's going to be, and this how. And in the secular industry, like they just give you a contract and they tell you, hey, look, this is where you're going to get screwed here, you're going to get screwed there, and
yeah, yeah.
at least they tell you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Instead of them blindsiding you and calling it, faith. It's like, dude,
Mm,
this isn't the way business should be. And yeah, you just learn a lot of ways of how not to be in the Christian industry. And I mean, yeah, I mean, doing the whole Hollywood thing, it eats away at you. You know what I'm saying? For real, like if you think you're a strong Christian and you're going to survive in that industry, like, dude, you're wrong. Um, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of like madness that goes into it. I mean, there's some Christian bands that go out with with pastors and chaplains, and you know what I'm saying, like because
wow. Yeah,
they
hell,
know
that's
like
covering,
the
huh?
attacks. Yeah, they know the attacks that come, and they know the temptations, and so it's smart. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think that probably um, explains, like if you like hear out the guys from POD on why they're so jaded, um, even being called, a Christian rock band and why they're
Mm,
so jaded from it. I think they were one of the first ones that like broke down those doors of, um, you know, being, Christians in a band or,
yeah,
Christian industry, because that's where they started, but crossing over and then being accepted by the secular industry and the Christians, they don't know how to take that. And they didn't, they blackballed POD on every single platform that they could, whether it was radio, whether it was, in magazines and the Christian bookstores, all that stuff.
yeah,
And yeah, it's just a crazy, that whole genre is it's weird, Um, you're just put in a box and expected to only do like what they do. And you see it a lot in Christian hip hop now, where it's like if you cross over and you do a rap song with some secular artists, all of a sudden you get every hip hop head or every, um, you know, urban minister or whatever, like reaching out, like, wow, why are you doing that for? The the light can't be with the darkness and,
yeah,
all this stuff. And you get
yeah,
thrown all these different, and it's like, man, isn't that what we're supposed to be? Like, it's just, it's a crazy, industry. And, I had a good opportunity to go out and do a bunch of stuff in the secular industry and but my heart was always to go back and do ministry, and then to come back and be involved with Morris Cerullo World Evangelism, where it's like, this man went all over the world
yeah,
preaching the gospel, the world, you know, and then hearing all the stories and hearing people come back and share some of these stories on how generous he was with other people's, how he blessed other people's ministries and other people's churches, and then just seeing, you know, what he built and how he operated. Um, yeah, he was about his business, and dude, I mean, the man died with his Bible on his chest. We have it on display here. His Bible, and it's just like he did ministry to the day he died.
yeah,
And I think some of us we grow in that part of faith and that part of our walk where it's like, man, it just you don't care about the titles, you don't care about where you go, the accomplishments, you don't care about all that stuff. It's
yeah,
like, man, at some point, like, dude, I just want to tell people about Jesus and love on people and
yeah,
share the gospel. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's just a part of like growing old and maybe maturing in the spirit, where it's like, dude, you stop caring about how people look at you and the cool points. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I gotta hang with the cool crowd, or I gotta. It's like, yeah, but I just want to do what God's asking me to do and just be obedient and marinate in that for a little bit. And now I kind of get just more joy out of that than it's like I don't need to go all these like cool guy concerts and car shows and art shows and all this stuff anymore, because
yeah,
I'm like I just want to bask in what God's asking me to do and just the obedience part of it. It's like that's what I want to do. Can I just do that? And yeah, man, that's where I'm at with it. And the industry is just upside down right now. The whole music industry, entertainment industry, and I'm glad to be able to kind of step back and look at it from a distance at this point in my life.
yeah. No, I know that what you just mentioned. I know, the first name that popped up when you were talking was Lecrae. I know Lecrae went through a whole lot of
Yeah,
stuff with, with all the secular artists that he was
yeah.
connecting with and collaborating with, um, yeah, it's tough, man. It's we're supposed to be the light in that darkness, and we're supposed to, minister to these people, and how can we if we don't, put ourselves in certain places? Definitely, I think like what you said, you need to have that covering. You need to be wise when you're going into the enemy's territory. Um, but
But
yeah,
even with Lecrae, like, I never heard anything crazy. Like he was out like drinking and partying
right,
and doing what they do.
yeah, yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like if he was there and he was being a light, then amen. Like
yeah,
that's what you're supposed to do, right?
yep,
But if like you hear stories of like TD Jakes at the
mm,
at the
mhm,
P Diddy parties. You know what
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
It's like, dude, when you're partaking, it's a
right,
whole different thing. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And it's like, dude, I had my share of that. Like I did that. Like I partied like a rock star with rock stars,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's my bad. Like I fell into some of that where it's like, dude, I wasn't being a good example all the time when I was out on the road and it's like, dude, you do you, you know what I'm saying? And and yeah, like it's easy to fall, man. It's easy to fall when you're wrapped up in it. But but if you can stand your ground and you got like if you can go into that industry and say, dude, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, and I'm not budging, dude, then it's what it is, you know.
yeah. You said something about uh, basking in, what God wants you to do. Um, can you elaborate on that a little bit more? Like, what is that right now? What are some of the things God is? I know you got the book, and you mentioned at the beginning when we started here some other ideas and things like that. But what is it that God is walking you through?
Well, for me, I mean, it's going to look different for everyone,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. For me, I did 16 years of community work, you know, and just grinding it out, doing stuff in the community. Like I think the last big thing we did was in November. We did a big toy giveaway with Rey Mysterio at one of the schools in South Bay,
Hmm.
and you know, it was a huge event. And then we did our huge toy drive, and I was like, dude, this is my last toy drive. Is what like I'm not there anymore. You know what I'm saying? So um, for me right now, it's be still. You
Mm,
know, um, I I wrote this book throughout like years of my life, and they weren't all like pretty years. You know what I'm saying? Like the last 6 years, you know, my wife has been going through cancer diagnosis, so we've been in and out of hospitals and treatment facilities, all kinds of stuff. And so some of the book I wrote at her bedside, you know, while
mm,
she's getting treatment,
yeah,
um, you know, being broke and having to move back into my dad's house and you know, trying to get back on my feet after a divorce and all, you know, all this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
It's like
yeah, yeah,
some of the stuff wasn't pretty, and still trying to do all that and still trying to give back to the community. Um, so, like I was saying, to some it's going to look different. To me, uh, after doing all the stuff that I was doing, you know, I think at least right now, these past few months, God has really been just telling me, be still, you know, and to a guy that's always restless and always wanting to do stuff, it's the hardest thing. It's the hardest thing that I can do, you know, and we're all going to go through our seasons, and we're going to go through seasons that are, you know, ups and downs, and seasons where you just are moving, you know, forward. And there's times where like the obedience part of it is just be still, you know, and it's not for guys like us. It's not easy, you know,
yeah,
because
yeah,
we have so much stuff we would just want to. And so, you know, right now I just been promoting the book and it's and staying home, you know. Um, I haven't been doing much of anything, and I I feel bad sometimes because I get invited to stuff and like I'm not out like connecting, shaking hands. I'm not that guy that like always wants to be home. You know,
yeah,
I'm the
yeah.
guy that wants to be out in your face, shaking hands, kissing babies. Yeah,
Right, right.
so it's tough, but like right now I just have to be home, you know, and sit still. And you know, I've been pushing this book, and you know I can do that from my phone. You know, I just been asking everyone, you know, to purchase or promote or do whatever, and it's I mean, it's still a lot of work, but it's not doesn't call for me being out all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been invited to go and you know speak at a couple places, and um, like I just did a church service a couple weeks ago up in Anaheim, and you know my wife came along with me, and so you know when it's stuff like that, it's a little easier, but it's
Yeah.
still like it's downshifting from you know everything I was doing before. So you know I haven't been doing any of the love thy neighbor stuff. You know, I was hitting the juvenile halls kind of heavy for a little bit. I'm just pausing on everything, you know, until I feel God's telling me, "All right, get up and go." You know, so it's going to look different for everybody, I believe.
Yeah, no, 100%. As you're talking, it just makes me think how important it is to be, open to that, right? Open to God saying, "Hey, son, hey, daughter, it's time to slow down. I need you to slow down and listen. Stop with the work for now. Stop grinding the grindstone. Just relax." And this Sunday, one of our pastors, he just came up and just did a quick little message, but he was saying how he had a big scare with he had like a retinal detachment or something like that. He had to have an emergency surgery, and that required him to be on his basically on his face down. So I think he was, like, on one of those, like, massage tables with the little hole, for 7 days. Like, he couldn't get up
Wow.
for 7 days, and he said that when you can't do anything, you can't cook, you can't do anything. He said, "You just get real still with God, and you do a lot of thinking." But it's one of those things that, I think it seems like you've been through a lot of things, a lot of different seasons, and being open to and willing to kind of just slow down and stop and listen. Like that's a huge part of, I think, maturing in Christ, maturing in your walk. You know what I mean?
It's like the story of Martha and Mary. You
Mm,
know
mhm.
that you can get so busy like doing the things that you think are of the Lord or for the Lord. You get so busy, but God, look, I'm serving you, and God, look, we're feeding the homeless or we're doing whatever, right? And and sometimes God just wants you to be a Mary and just sit at His feet and
Yep.
and listen to Him. And I hear it sometimes like Martha, Martha, like, and it's like, oh man, like you get so busy like doing the work,
Yeah, yeah,
with doing the work where you just forget to just sit with the Creator and just bask with in His grace and His goodness. And it's like that's me all the time. Like I get busy doing all this other stuff, and it's
yeah.
like especially like when you're doing stuff, on Saturdays or Saturday nights or whatever, and it's like too tired to go to church
Hmm.
or you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
anything that's gonna distract you or take you away from reading or praying or growing closer with the Lord is no matter how good it is, you could be saving kids from fires, like still, you know what I'm saying? If it takes you away from the things of God or His closeness and drawing you closer to the Lord, then anything that's a distraction is not good. Distractions are not good.
what is something? So I'll give you an example, and I want to see if you have a different. Yeah, I'm sure you have a different tool in your toolbox. But like when I have something that I'm struggling with, something that I'm challenged with, maybe it's a getting up and going to church on a Sunday morning because it's been a long week. A lot of times it's even like at the gym or when you're walking, you're out running or whatever. I tell myself it's just take one more step. It's one more mile. It's one more hour. It's you're almost there. Like that's how I get myself through those times. uh, I have an event that I have to go to, and it's like, man, at school, right? I teach at an adult school, uh, and sometimes the times in between our breaks, our spring break and our winter break, this, that, and the other, they're kind of long stretches of like, man, we haven't got any days off yet. So it's like, it becomes this countdown. Okay, just it's 2 more weeks, man. We're almost there. You put your head down, you work for two more weeks. Is there anything like that you use in your life, whether it's spiritual or work wise, that you kind of the self talk maybe?
I believe in divine appointments, so I
Mm,
believe that when something is set, like I'm supposed to be there. I just always have that feeling like, no, I'm supposed to go, like I'm supposed to
yeah,
be
yeah.
there. And I always feel like something inside, like I know that if it's not a certain like event that like I'm not feeling it, then it's what it is. But if I'm feeling it and it's like, no, I gotta go, and something's just tugging on my heart, like saying, you got to go. Like, I believe there was a divine appointment that means I have to be there, you know? So I just always try to like, all right, Lord, like, even if I don't want to go and I'm not going to be there, like, you you show up before me, you know?
Mm.
Um, but yeah, there's no necessary tool in my toolbox, but it's more of a like I just want to be in his will, you know, if that makes any sense. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah. No. Have you
like
found that those times that you kind of say, I'm supposed to be there, um, that there's usually a situation or a moment
yeah,
of
yeah,
a connection that you have that's like,
yeah,
oh, okay,
yeah,
I get it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, it was I want to say it was a week ago or something. You know, just kind of struggling at home and just kind of going through it, you know, with my wife or whatever. And then
Hmm.
I had to go to the store, and I was like, I don't want to go to the store and go, you know, man. And so I end up going to the store, and I run into this guy. Well, I didn't know personally.
Hmm.
So he's like calling me from, you know, down the aisle, and he's like, hey. He's like, Mr. Torres. It's like, love thy neighbor. And he's like, you know, so finally I turn around, and you know, he approaches me, and dude, he just opened up about, you know, he bought the book, and he, no, he was right about to buy the book. He
Hmm.
didn't buy the book yet.
Hmm.
He was like, man, I just want to tell you that I was about to get your book. And he like opened up his Amazon cart, and it was in his cart.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was saying that someone else told him about it. And then he had, said he had been following me on social media, whatever, and just, you know, how much of a blessing it was to finally connect and all this like cool stuff that, um, you know, like we knew a lot of the same people, and
Mm.
just some of the stuff that he had said that he had kind of, you know, like had an admiration for, you know, like the men's retreats and the stuff that I do. And I was like, dude, that means a lot, you know. And I think at the time, like, as much as I didn't want to go out and I didn't want to go do, you know, it's a little task going to the store or whatever, but it's like, dude, that it's kind of like made my weekend, you know? And so just knowing like that you're making a difference when you don't even know that you're making a difference is a big deal,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? And sometimes like you need to hear those things, like as men, you know, we always want to hear, we always want to feel appreciated too, you know what I'm saying? But to hear those words that like, man, like sometimes you feel that the work that you do, the things you do go unnoticed, or that they're unappreciated or whatever. But when someone comes up to you in the most unexpected place, and you're like, me, like you're talking about me, like the thing that I did a year ago or 2 years ago, whatever, like impacted you, and we've never met. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Right, right.
it's a trip, you know. But sometimes it's going to the places that you don't feel like,
Mm.
because God has something there for you, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, you know, I talk about it a little bit in the book where, you know, like when you don't say yes to something, and you're like, send someone else, God, you know, one of those
Mm.
excuses like that's
Hmm.
what Moses gave to God, right? The
Yeah,
burning
yeah.
bush, like, send someone else. But when you give that excuse of send someone else, like you know, you don't want to go, like you're robbing yourself
Yeah.
of what's next to come, you know. It's like the story of David when his dad told him, "Dude, here's some bread and some cheese. Like, go take it to your, you know, go take it to
Your
your brothers in the
brother.
front
Yeah.
line." And you know, this is already after he was anointed to be king. You know, so he could have easily said like, "Pops, you know who I am? You know what I'm saying? I'm the next appointed king." You know what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
He's like, I ain't no Uber driver. I ain't delivering no food. Like,
Right,
what do
right.
you think this is? Is that a DoorDash, dude?
Right,
Forget
right.
that. You could have, you know, but he was like, bread and cheese, and my father's asking me to do this. Let's go. And such a small task, you know, he did it. He took it, and it was because he did that small task that the big task came that followed, that he said yes to, and that was the giant. You know, so if he wouldn't have done the small thing, he
Right.
wouldn't have ever got the big thing. You
Yeah.
know, so you know, just a reminder. you know, to anyone that, we need to keep doing the small things, keep doing the small things. The magic's in the small things because you do these small things and God sets you up for the big thing.
And talking about the story of David, also, he was obedient. He took the bread and the cheese, and when he got there, it could have been. I mean, and this happens to us sometimes. I think in our in our quest, and then the things that we feel like God is got us doing. You get to a place, and then you get people that are talking down to you. Right, his brothers were like, "What are you doing here? You just came to be nosy, basically." His brothers were like, they giving him a hard time. He could have turned around and just left, you know,
Yeah.
and missed out on taking down the giant. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot to be said in that story there, and that's good. Let me see. Oh, you were talking about your men's retreat. Tell me a little bit more about the men's retreat and how that all
You,
came about.
you know what? My boy, South Bay Mike, he invited me to a men's retreat. I want to say it was maybe like 10 years ago or something, out in Moreno Valley, Victory Ranch. And I was out there with my boy Paco and my son. Like we just finished like having lunch, and there's like this little patio area outside of like the cafeteria. And I was just sitting out there, and I was like, bro, like how cool would it be if like we got this spot like for the homies and we just came out here and did our own thing. You know what I'm saying? Like had our own version of this. Like how cool would that be? And I was just thinking mostly like the guys that I grew up with. Like dude, just come and like let's rededicate our lives, and it's just you know what I'm saying? Like this
Yeah.
is something between us and the Lord.
Yep.
And and so, I was like, man, I'd love to do that someday. And 8 years after that, um, or 7 years after that, something like that, like finally pulled the trigger, and I was like, what's it gonna take to get that spot and go do it? And and so yeah, I I kind of just reached out and I said, what's it gonna take? And we put down a deposit, and then after that, just kind of started promoting and asking people, hey, who wants to roll? And I think that kind of became like, my Super Bowl for the year. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm,
that's what I love to do, the retreats. Like if I can just do nothing but like do that type of ministry like all the time, like I'm good. But I reached out to some of the homies, and I'm just thinking in my mind like the audience, like the faces I'm gonna see when we're there, uh, is gonna be the guys I grew up with, and it was just it was like maybe 3 or 4 of the guys that I grew up with, and everybody else were all like new guys, and it was all like everybody who God chose to be there was there. Um, Sometimes, it takes a turn for what God wants to be and not your plans.
yeah, yeah.
So I was just grateful, man. We had about 30 guys that went, so I think we had 35 guys the second year, and last year we had like close to 40. Um, but like small and intimate like that is really cool. Um, you just see lives change. There's guys that are just all walks of life. We get reports back from the wives like, "Oh my God, thank you for inviting my husband," or "My husband came back such a changed man." Like you don't understand what happened, and all this stuff. And it's um it's a beautiful thing. Like after the first one that I did, I was driving home, and I was just like, man, I can go be with the Lord right now. Like if we died in a crash right now on the way home, I'm good. Like I
Mm,
felt accomplished. I
yeah.
felt like I did what God asked me to do, and I was like, like you just felt like whole, like everything felt complete at that moment. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful feeling, and the rawness of what we do, um, the type of guys that come up. It's not like a bunch of polished seminary guys. You know what I'm saying? It's a bunch of like ruffians, dude. It's a bunch of guys who, some guys have, in prison for, whatever, 5, 8, 10, 12 years, 20 years. and then I usually invite like one pastor, two pastors maybe, um, and then everybody else that comes up to speak are the guys. You know what I'm saying? It's like the homies. And so I love the rawness of it and what it is, and um, how people open up and the stories that they share. And it's like you finally feel like, man, I'm not alone. Like, oh, you're feeling that too? Like,
Mm,
oh wow, I thought I was the only one. And being able to like pray with the guys and open up, and we'll break into small groups, and just it's been a beautiful thing, man. And it almost feels like Fight Club. It's like you know you don't talk about it, but it's like it's kind of like a little exclusive little thing that you do, and it's like,
yeah.
wow, when's the next one? I mean, some guys want it to be twice a year. Um, I'm cool with it just being once a year because it,
Mm,
it feels special,
yeah, yeah.
Um, but it's yeah, it's awesome, and it's something I would love to keep doing. If I stop doing anything else, I always said like, oh man, I never want to stop doing the toy drives because like to me, like I see myself in those kids and TJ when
Mm,
we go to toys.
mhm,
Um, but doing the toy drive stuff is it's a temporary fix, to a bigger problem that isn't going to be solved by handing out a toy, you know. And I feel by doing the men's retreat, um, it helps fix. I don't want to say it helps fix. It gives men the opportunity to hit the reset button on their spiritual walk,
mm,
so that they can go back and be better husbands, better fathers, better brothers, better sons, better employees, employers, just better sons in the Lord, and and it brings a sense of camaraderie, um, sense of brotherhood, So I think it just leaves more of an eternal impact than handing out toys. That's just me, and that's why I chose to just, hey man, I'm gonna shift gears and go in a different direction, and that's why I'm doing this stuff now as opposed to all the community stuff I was doing.
that's good. While you're talking about that, I'm wondering, are there, without, giving any details or specific stories, is there any kind of like common threads in the retreats that you've done so far of some of the things that men are dealing with in their day-to-day lives?
Um, I think the number one thing is lust.
Mm,
Um, like you hear a lot of men, struggling with porn.
mhm.
It's a huge thing, and then um, you think you're alone sometimes when you go up and you're just like, man, I just got in a fight with my wife before I came here or whatever, and you're like down and out. Then you hear some of the other guys talk, and you're just like, oh my god, I'm not alone, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
But we when we kind of push that stuff inside and we like don't openly like talk about
Yeah.
those struggles, the struggles that we have in our marriage, struggles that we have as fathers. Like there's a lot of guys that deal with their father figures or their father, um, feeling like they failed. Um, there's a lot of those common things. Like we had a young guy named Jordan Lunderville,
Mhm.
who he was probably like the youngest guy who came and spoke, but you know his his whole talk was just basically on not necessarily the yeah, it was generational wounds. Like he didn't want to say curses, in that
Yeah, yeah.
generation, just wounds that you can move forward towards healing, and hearing it from a young guy like speak to older guys, it really like I think it really hit us all. Like
Yeah.
listening to his perspective on fatherhood. What where we were hurt and how we hurt
Mhm.
our kids. Um, you know, Getting different perspectives on stuff like that is always a big deal. But yeah, I think there's a lot to learn still, and every time we go to these things, this year we have a theme. It's just going to be forgiveness, and so this year will be October 9th through the 11th, and it's $180 if anybody wants to come. It's 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Um, your covers your like your room and your meals, so it's not bad at all, And come through. You never know who you're going to meet. Um, the first year we had Sunny Sandoval from POD came, and um, she spoke. I think all 3 days that we were there, and so it's kind of cool, like seeing people that kind of come and go. Last year, um, it was raining, most of the time, so there's a shooting range out there, and so we usually go out, do some shooting out there, on our free time. And this year we only did a little bit of shooting, but some of the guys brought their tattoo equipment, and so some guys are getting tatted up during our free time. And then my boy Memo, he brought his heat press, so we're making a bunch of like the connected shirts and all stuff. And yeah, I mean it's a good time, man. It just depends on on the outlook. Just have a good perspective on, who may be there, who you may connect with.
Yeah.
Um, we've had like a former like cartel guy who came and ended up connecting with undercover, San Diego PD, and so it's like you just never know, you know what I'm saying? Like they became friends, and it's like they didn't know what their backgrounds were or whatever, and just the way like God sets it up, it's a beautiful thing just to see God work.
Yeah, I think the what you said is especially important is the just kind of having the right mindset, the willingness, to let God do what God's going to do in your life.
Yeah,
And I think it's a huge challenge, I think, for men, right? Because we live in this society that's all about machismo and you got to be this alpha, um, and and that doesn't always jive well with having God be the head of your life,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's I know it's a challenge for men. So yeah, it's is there a website or something for the camp, or like if somebody wanted to register?
No, not yet. I
Okay.
mean, we have an Eventbrite. You can find it's just called the Connected Men's Group. We call it the Reset. So the retreat every year is the Reset, and you can find it on my stuff. And then there's an Instagram for it.
Okay.
Um,
So
but
I'll put all that stuff in the links and stuff
yeah,
after we put the recording up.
but but that's it. We haven't gone as far as to do like a website or anything yet. I've been talking to a buddy of mine, Carlos Gilbert, about kind of helping create all that stuff. Just he's the organized guy, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like he knows all the nuts and bolts behind like,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
man, let's make it look right, And I'm just like, dude, just raw, let's just go, Like
Just do it.
yeah, let's just do it. Let's just make it happen.
All right. I'm gonna throw you a couple of kind of scripted questions here, just so we can get some more stuff also for the podcast here. Um, what's something that you used to believe about yourself that you no longer accept as true?
Um that my past disqualifies me.
Mm,
I don't believe that at all anymore. I'm a high school dropout. I was born in Tijuana. I was dyslexic. Um, I don't say it much, and I just barely started opening up about it. But
mm,
like went through like some sexual abuse, um, and when you live with shame sometimes, and then you know did some criminal activity in my life as well. You know what I'm
mm.
saying? Like
Yeah.
you think all these things disqualify you,
Yeah. Yeah.
and sometimes we too many times we sit in that shame and that guilt, and we hear the enemy's whispers, and we tend to believe it, and God has a different story for us. God has something completely different, and saying like all of that stuff that you have, like bring it to me. I want to use it.
Mm,
Like that's stuff that I can help someone else with.
yeah.
Bring it to me. Give it to me so I could use it. And once you say that, yes, like all right, here's my junk. do something with it, build a beautiful mosaic out of this junk, and God will do it, and God will put you there. And that's pretty much like what the book was, when you put it in a nutshell. But like I believe that about myself for far too long. Um, I was asked by the district attorney's office, I want to say it was in 2018, to be part of their regional leadership institute. And I was like, what is this all about? Um, and they approached me like 6 times.
Hmm.
I kid you not, I'm not even exaggerating. They would call me. They came to my office. I have an office in Chula Vista, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we want you to come and speak to law enforcement." And I was like, I was always taught not to talk. We don't talk to cops. Like, what are you talking about? And so I was like, "What is this all about?" And so I just got done doing this event. It was I called it just a peace gathering up in it was Qualcomm, in the parking lot out there, and did this event. We just kind of brought the community together, and it was when there was a lot of that tension between law enforcement and the community, and
Hmm.
cops were getting shot at, and then we
Yeah.
had there was a cop that got murdered here, like the Shelltown area. Um, so it was right in the midst of all that, and so I put together this event called just it was Love Thy Neighbor Peace Gathering, and so I rented out the parking lot over at Qualcomm, and so we had music and we had guest speakers and we had vendors and lowriders and all kinds of cool stuff, and just brought members of the community together with law enforcement. It was a beautiful thing, just trying to bring peace to the community. And so I guess the DA's office sent someone out there to go see what we're doing. And then after that, I did something on a smaller scale, but it was still a great turnout. Coffee with the cop, but we did it on our own terms. And so usually it's the police department that puts these together, and instead I just put one together. And it was just kind of open up that conversation, law enforcement and community. And at the time, still I was still a little like, hey, law enforcement has a lot of answering to do as well. Like,
Hmm.
um, but there was nobody that was trying to be that middleman or be that kind of connector between that. So I kind of took that role for that moment. And so again, for that event, the district attorney's office, I guess, sent someone over, to that event. And so there was a young lady who was like, "Hey, my boss sent me over. I wanted to talk to you about this thing." And I was like, "Hey, that's cool. And it sounds like a cool thing that you guys are doing, but I have no idea what that is, and that doesn't. It's not in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I don't talk to cops. What am I going to tell cops? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I'm a high school dropout.
Yeah.
I used to run from them. I used to travel, state to state, doing, suitcases full of dope. I'm not that example. I'm not that guy that you're looking for.
And
And so
that thought is going back to like what you used to believe about yourself, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm automatically disqualifying myself.
Yeah.
And again, that's like when Moses was being called at the burning bush, and
Hmm.
he's disqualifying himself. "Oh, I don't
Mm.
speak so well, I got
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
stutter," whatever. And
Right.
he has all these excuses like, "Send someone else.
Yeah.
Uh, what if they don't believe me?" All the excuses. And so I'm doing the same thing. But like I don't realize it until I started doing the book. Like I was like,
Mm.
"Wait a minute, that happened to me."
Yeah.
So, but I'm giving all these excuses to them, and then they hit me up probably like 6 times, and then on the sixth time I was like, "You know what? I'll try it." And at first when I went in, I was really harsh, on the cops. It was 36 law enforcement officers
Uh-huh.
from all across California, and you don't know who's who. So most of them are in plain clothes. So there's like FBI,
Mm.
DEA, Homeland Security, um, different police departments from all over. Like you don't know who's who,
Mhm.
and so you start asking anybody from the FBI, and there's a couple guys, and who's Homeland Security, who's DEA, and then you start kind of and and it's cool. I made a lot of cool connections and made a lot of cool friends from it. I want to say maybe my first or second time going in, I was like super harsh, and then after a while, I was like, man, I'm just trying to get these guys to understand, like when you come into our neighborhoods and our communities,
Mhm.
like just look at it more as an opportunity for you to change their perspective on law enforcement.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's every time you walk in, if there's a community member who has that F the police mentality, you have the opportunity to change that and say, man, not all cops are bad. Dude, did you see that cop? He was actually kind of cool. Like, yeah, officer, thanks for letting me off on that thing or whatever it was, right? And so either that that first initial point of contact is going to be, see, I told you all cops were jerks, or it's going to be, see, not all cops are jerks. So I'm like, yeah, I'm putting this in your hands. Like now there's you have it's opportunity. Every interaction with a community member is an opportunity to change their perspective.
Mhm.
And so I kind of just started smoothing it out more like that. And my whole talk was pretty much like, hey, just don't be a jerk when you come into our neighborhoods. Like roll
Hey,
down your
Pac.
windows, rip yourself. Yeah, yeah. Hey, Pac-Man. It's like, dude, don't be that guy. Dude. Don't
Yeah.
be the Pac-Man. And I mean, someone had to do that. And so at the time, I caught a lot of flack too. I was doing a lot of stuff in Barry Logan,
Mm.
and it's just it's something that was looked down upon at that time, where it was like, why are you working alongside the cops, and why are you doing this? And to me, I'm like, man, if we're looking for change and we're trying to create change, then you need to build bridges, and change isn't built by saying like, we're not talking to you guys, or like giving the Heisman every time like they try to come close or whatever. It's like, no, no, you're part of the community as well. So how do we change your mindset when you come into the community, as opposed to like just shining them off and cutting them off? And so a lot of great opportunities have come from my relationship with law enforcement. Everything I do now is partnered with law enforcement. We work heavy with the gang intervention unit, and my buddies there have opened up so many doors as well. Ricardo Rivas, Officer Rivas, he's been amazing to work with. We've gotten into the juvenile halls. We've partnered up on so many things. We did like a field trip. I took them up to Homeboy Industries up in LA,
Mhm.
and so we went up there and did a whole tour. And they were just like, "Dude, how'd you get San Diego PD to come in? Like LAPD doesn't even come up here, and how'd you do
Wow.
that? And it's just it's been a great like relationship that I've been able to kind of like look behind the scenes and do some stuff behind the scenes with them. We're able to bring like some street guys to some of their trainings and kind of give them behind the scenes look at stuff that they go through. Um, just been really really cool to do that. We did some door to door knocking, and down in like Logan Heights. So, as a community member and police officer, just kind of going door to door and just checking on community members and checking the needs. And hey, is there anything we can do like as community and as law
Mhm.
enforcement? Like, what can we do?
That's awesome.
Just so many cool things. This last December, we loaded up a bunch of cop cars with toys, and we drove around South San Diego giving out toys to kids. And so we're like playing like Christmas music on the on the system in their in
Yeah.
their car. It's kind of like the ice cream man,
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
we went around to a couple like apartment complexes,
That's
and we
cool.
pulled up, and they don't know, the people in the apartments, they don't know what to think. They're just like
Yeah,
bunch of cops, like you
yeah.
know. And then we had a big white van too, so that they can ice, like they don't know what to think.
Right.
And we just open up and pull out a bunch of toys, and we're like, no, we're just here to give out toys. So everyone's like skeptical, at the time, but yeah, like we do these like partnerships with San Diego PD, and it's been a beautiful thing. So me saying yes to that thing opened up so many other opportunities, and sometimes we're so scared to say yes to that thing that someone's going to look at you different for doing that or whatever it might be. And you live in that fear, or you live in that people pleasing mentality. And when you stop doing that and you're just obedient and you just say yes to that thing that is being presented to you, um, God may open up doors that you've never imagined. And that's what happened with me. Um, just being obedient to the yes. Just your obedience, like someone is counting on your yes, because some of the cool, amazing things that we've been able to do in some of the juvenile halls that we've been into, in some of the prisons and stuff that we've been into, like, is because we said yes. So someone's blessing is waiting for you on the other side of your yes, and it's like just do the thing, say yes and just go, and you'll see that God's gonna open up doors, and
Yeah.
it's been like one thing after another, so um can't wait to see what God does next.
That's good. What you talked about juvenile hall, and so I start to think about the teens that are, kind of these guys that are growing up in a rough life. What kind of did you guys have any kind of conversations with any of these guys that were in there, and what did that look like?
Yeah, there's a lot of them that are still kind of set in their ways of trying to be tough guys.
Hmm.
And here, the juvenile halls here, um, they go anywhere from, like whatever, 14, 15 to like 25. So it's not just because you turn 18, like you leave and they send you somewhere else. It might be like that in other states, I believe. But here, like as a youth, doing life is 7 years. So they'll, if you committed a crime early on and it's life, like you committed a murder, like they'll just keep you the full 7 years. So there's guys in there who are 25, but so some of the young guys, who are just kind of like they're proud of their crime or they're proud of the gang life or whatever, their mentality is still stuck on like being tough guys. And there's other guys who are like, nah, man, I'm done with that life. I don't want to live here. I don't want to be like this. I don't want to come back to no place like this. And those are the ones that you pour into. Like the other guys, they'll when they're ready, they'll soften up and they'll kind of you'll see them kind of like, hey man, just wanted to talk, just wanted to see like what was that opportunity you were talking about, whatever. But there's guys who are just like, I'm done with it, man. What do I got to do? Like, what opportunities do you have? How can I get involved or whatever, and you just see the hearts of it all. And I think the one common factor in all of it is the dad's not being around or not involved. And it's crazy because like you hear stories from the kids, oh yeah, my dad wasn't around. And then the other side of it was my dad was around and he introduced me to the life.
Hmm.
Like my dad was a gangster, so I wanted to be a gangster.
Mm,
So, it's a sad like statistic,
yeah.
but it goes back to like the men's retreats. Like, man, like if we don't man up and we don't start doing something, like our kids have no hope. The next generation has no hope, so we need to man up. We need to be the men that God's called us to be and be the men that God wants us to be, and pass down, the things that God has poured into us, you pour into someone else.
Yeah.
And it's just that revolving like vicious cycle that that people don't tend to see or hear about sometimes. But um, there's some really cool experiences too, man. There's some kids who are just like ready and just like, what do I got to do? And like my boy Memo, he does the good Merc, Memo Ray. He does graphic design, so he went in there with the laptop, kind of going in like once a week, twice a week, and he's helping kids out. Hey man, let me teach you how to do graphic design, so when you get out, you can maybe get a job doing this, right? So so he was mentoring a kid that was in there, and then when he got out, he helped the kid get a job.
Nice.
And so there's a lot of cool stories like that when we go in and we're just talking to kids, or just having these one-on-ones sometimes, um, it just you just see the kids kind of brighten up and like, dude, there's hope, you know. Um, and there's some kids who are like, dude, I'm ready for the next step. I'm ready for prison. Like I'm
Mm,
ready to get out of here and go to the big one. And it's like, dang, it's sad.
yeah.
But we do these festivals inside once a year,
Hmm.
um, usually during the fall as well. And so we get like the homie like Kuya comes in with his tattoo equipment, um, tattoo Kuya and Joey, like they come in with these like fake skins, and then like they teach the kids how to tattoo on them.
Mhm.
because there's so many kids in there that are like artistic and creative.
Right.
So so when you get out, you can maybe come and be apprentice over at my shop, and but while they're there, they're just hitting them with Jesus, and it's like it's just dope,
Yeah.
And so we've had we bring in like low riders and a DJ and food truck and all these like different vendor booths. So all the kids have to go and visit all the booths, and so we have like we do free haircuts and all that stuff. But like most of the guys that I try to bring in are all like faith based.
Yeah.
So it's like you're gonna go get a haircut. Well, the barber is gonna sit there and he's gonna tell you about Jesus while he's fading you up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just cool, man. It's just cool to see the conversations. Like people like Kuya, they're just built for it. Like I just love like sitting there and watching like Kuya in action, like when he's got these group of kids around him and he's just like hitting them, and then he hits them with the like, so where you at with the Lord? So what? But dude, we got opportunities to go in there and do that. And so um coup- I think it was 3 years ago, me and Sonny donated a bunch of equipment, like studio equipment, and now they have a recording studio in there. And David's Harp goes in there, and they teach music and they teach kids video, and they do all the stuff. But so yeah, so we had an opportunity to donate some studio equipment, and now one of the units has a recording studio in there. And so I took the homie little one in there, and he's like a Chicano rap legend in here. So he went in there and he's talking to the kids about recording, and he brought in Steve Vicious, and um, he brought in this dude Moss that plays the guitar and he does beatbox.
Mhm.
And so like he's in there, he's recording with the kids, and the kids are just, wow, this is dope.
That's
And
cool.
so there's like a group of like 8 kids that are just in there doing music and getting creative.
Yeah.
And so like, it's opportunities like that that we get to go in and like make an impact. And not all of them are trying to hear Jesus like that, but you come in and you slide it in and you're just like, dude, so where you at with the Lord, man? Like, it's just gotta be, gentle as a dove.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when you're provided opportunities, we don't go in there as hey, we're gonna go and teach chapel. We go in and dude, we're gonna bring some cool creative stuff. We're gonna do some of these events, and then we just sneak it in. We're like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
oh, but we're gonna preach Jesus too. Yeah,
And I think it's important for these guys to have somebody that's peddling some hope to them, right? Because
yeah, yeah,
they're in a hopeless situation, and if they don't, they're not going to get that from necessarily from the people around them, inside. And um, my wife and I have always talked about people that have been incarcerated. A lot of them, specifically, maybe a drug dealer or something like that. They've got entrepreneurial DNA in them. Like,
oh yeah,
if
oh
they
yeah,
can just
for
refocus
sure.
that energy, to the right place, I mean, they'd be able to live a legit life and not have to be running from the cops looking over their shoulder all the time. And so it's just always been like, how do we get that message to them? To realize who you really are. The skill, the talent, the gift that you've been given can
Yeah,
be used for good.
that's that. That's the book.
Yeah.
That's the book. So that's why I've been so hype on like I've been telling people, dude, I'm starting the unlikely leader initiative. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to start collecting donations to like
Mhm.
I want to buy the book in bulk so I can get it into the hands of some inmates in some of the prisons, throughout the nation, not just San Diego, but
Mhm.
in the juvenile halls. I think it'll really resonate with these guys because uh, it's everything in there. Like talk about being creative, or talk about dope dealing and the hustle and the being locked up and all that. Like not that I was locked up, but them as a reader when you're reading it. Um, and I think it's all in there because I think that it's probably my target audience,
Yeah. Yeah,
in
yeah,
in the
yeah.
book. But anyone who just feels unqualified or like counted out or overlooked, and there's so many people out there that feel the way that I felt. So I wanted to get that message out,
Who would you say? Because I mean, I see you basically being a mentor to these people. Who would you say, for you was that person or that voice? Was it one person? Was it anyone? Was it multiple people? As you were younger, as you were coming up, that kind of mentored you and kind of, taught
Yeah,
you, kind of the ropes, whether it be, in the entertainment business or nonprofit, whatever it is. Oh,
yeah. I think early on, you know, in our neighborhood, that kind of introduced us to Jesus was Noah Bernardo, Wolf's dad, the drummer for POD.
mhm,
Um, I grew up like 2 doors away from him,
mm,
so seeing his transformation was eye opening for all of us because like we knew how he was and we seen him transform, completely, after meeting Jesus. We're just like, dude, this is real.
yeah,
Um, and that was my first taste of the music, you know, the actual music business. Um, Before that, it was like the guys from Legion of Doom, Mike Ski, and all those guys.
yeah,
And that was just more like that was music, but it was also life of crime and all that stuff. And then when I jumped into the Christian industry with the POD guys and all that, I think it was Noah Bernardo, and then um, in the big scale of things, it was Devin DeHaven. He kind of took me under his wing and uh, teach me, about producing and the business and talking to people and just like I think that's where like I really my eyes were open to Hollywood and like seeing all different aspects of it. Um, but I in recent years, because I was never really discipled, like you and I know, like we've been to church and uh, and then even just like being there at Cornerstone, it was like there was a lot of pastors that had titles and nobody that was like, hey, let me disciple you. Let me teach you what it's like to be a man of God, or let me show you what this means here because it's not what you think, or whatever. Like,
yeah,
let's
yeah,
just do Bible study. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right,
I didn't never really had much of that.
hmm,
Um, so the one guy who sat with me probably for a year straight and just gave it to me and hurt my feelings, and all that stuff. Like, what are you talking about? Just really broke it down. His name's Bo Harrows. He's my wife's cousin.
mm,
He lives up in Modesto. So I spent like a year in Modesto,
hmm,
kind of just being discipled by him and kind of really like digging in and learning. And, some of the stuff was tough because, it meant letting go of some of the way that I would think before. And some of it was really humbling because I had a lot of pride in me and the ego. And he really was like pushing on me to like let go of some of that stuff. Um, and then I think holding on to some bitterness and being jaded about, some stuff in the churches, like, I think he really kind of taught me what scriptures meant, taking it in full, in the context of it. Sometimes it's not what you think. And sometimes people take things out of context. And it's like, that's not what that meant, like, and, and just really, it was a breaking down of the ego sometimes that we all need,
hmm,
because it's putting God first, the Word of God first, and servanthood, first. And he brought me in to serve at a church called the House Modesto, and again, like I went in there and I was up there as like, don't you know who I am? you know, like an idiot. Like,
look at my resume.
Yeah, I'm Ruben Torres. Look at my IMDb. Look at all the stuff I did. And it's like nobody cared. Modesto is like nobody cared. It's like you're who from where? I don't care. Like
What's that
so,
IMDb thing you're talking about?
yeah. And so I don't care how many gold records and platinum records you have on your wall. Like what's that? Yeah. and so to me, they're like my trophies,
Yeah.
and so I'm like, what do you mean? That's what but it was just super humbling that nobody cared. And I loved it, you know, like nobody cared. Like, in San Diego and LA, people care about your titles and your accomplishments and all that stuff. And it's like, dude, no one cares. Outside of those circles, no one cares. And it's just it's a beautiful thing. So I think Bo Harrows has been like my number one smack in the head disciple. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, kind of grab by the shirt, like, dude, come on, man. You got this.
And was he
I
a
mean, in a
pastor?
loving,
Is he a
in a
pastor up there
loving way.
also, or is he?
Yeah, he's a pastor. He's a
Okay.
pastor up there. I think right now he's doing the men's ministry up at the house, Modesto. And so I mention him a lot throughout my book, and he's always like my go-to guy. Like, hey Bo, I'm going through this thing, and can you pray for me? And and it's like he's always the guy I'm running to. But I got a good core group of guys here. M- my boy Memo being one of them, and Joey and Kuya and Easy, all these guys that I like surround myself with up here, that I can easily just call and just say, dude, I'm going through this thing. Um, Sonny, he's one of the guys that like I just like you let people speak life into you,
Hmm.
and these are some of the guys, and you need that. You need, in my book I talk about Aaron and her, and like the guys that are holding up your arms. Like
Yeah.
when you're in battle and you're going through it, and it's like, do you have those two
Right.
guys?
Right. Right.
And are you one of those guys for someone else?
Hmm.
Like sometimes there's guys that like, I always talk about Bo and I call him, but most of the time it's me calling him to tell him about my problems. And it's like, I should be asking him, dude, what are you going through? Like,
Hmm.
can I hold up your arms? Like,
Yeah.
what do you need, bro? Can I pray for you?
Right.
Most of the time it's like, oh, pray for me. I'm going through all this,
Yeah.
and sometimes we forget to be the other guy, and it's like, we need that. So, so yeah, I would say, those core group of guys are really like through different stages of my life, mentored me, and it's important. It's important to have that. Now, there's a couple guys I try to like pour into myself, and so I think it's important. Again talk about it in the book, but it's important to have a mentor and have a mentee.
So get the book.
There it
Make
is.
sure you
Get
go
the
get the
book.
book.
There it is. You know, I talk about that, dude. Like the Jethro, how he was kind of a mentor figure in Moses' life. We need that. We need that. So, and be open to different perspectives.
Yeah. Yeah. Most definitely. What has been a defining moment in your life so far, um, that you would say split everything to before and after? Like, is there a moment in your life that you say, okay, this is the before and this is the after now, or is there
Yeah.
multiple moments?
Uh, no. Yeah. Definitely. There was. Yeah. There's a few. Of course, like going through a divorce
Mm,
was a tough. Um, I also got remarried to the same woman that I got divorced to. So I
okay.
remarried my first wife. Yeah.
Okay.
So, some people, they get divorced and they find another wife to marry. It's
Hmm.
like God just restored our marriage, and,
Man.
after years of being apart and all that. So that's a defining moment because um you can go either way, you know, before that, um, in '96 I lost my older brother to, like criminal life.
Hmm.
And then like not even well, yeah, I want to say a year later, I lost my mom. So like having those tragedies in your life such early on um, could really be a turning point in someone's life,
Yeah.
to where it's like I'm just gonna go off the deep end, or it's like I just got to keep it together and be strong for everyone else as well. Um, but going through all that, um, the two other moments I think that were kind of key moments to me. There was one that happened recently this year that I don't want to go too deep on, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I had like a I had like a moment that was like a crazy spiritual warfare that I'd never experienced anything like that in
Mm,
my life
hmm.
ever, and and just kind of that hit the reset button on my entire life. So the way, I've been kind of explaining is like from that moment on, like it was like before that and after that, that spiritual battle, that moment that I had, that was just blew me away. It was that, and that happened in like February.
Mm,
But but the turning point, which made me rethink ministry, my walk, my agenda, the posture of the heart of why you do things and how you do things.
mhm,
In 2024, November 2024, the city and the county of San Diego proclaimed a Ruben Torres Day. So November 9th in San Diego is Ruben Torres Day.
nice.
So it's such an honor,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like what? It's America's finest city, and I got a day named after, in the city. But I it made me really think, man, and I was like, man, like, was I doing it wrong? Like, was I pointing people to Ruben Torres instead of to the
Mm,
Lord?
mm,
And I'm like, I'm honored that I'm getting this day, this recognition, that people, are recognizing my work and the things that I've been able to do in San Diego. But was I saying, hey, look at me,
mm,
and not saying, hey, look at Jesus? And dude, it was so bittersweet, and it it hurt, you know. So it just really from that moment on, it really made me rethink everything. And so that's part of the reason I'm sitting still, because I don't even like putting out a book. It's like, hey, look at me,
mm.
but it's like, no, no, but look at the message in the book.
Yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Like I want it to be about the posture of the heart. Like, Lord,
Right.
I'm just giving it back to you, you know.
Mhm, mhm.
And so I think a lot of times there was times when I was doing stuff in the community where I was pointing to myself, where I was saying, hey, look at what I'm doing. Hey, look at the, when they say like you're out feeding the homeless and taking pictures and all the
Yeah, yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
right? It's like I get it, because like we did it because also like we want to not just encourage other people, but we want to promote what we're doing so that if there's a giver, there's someone else that wants to come alongside that don't even know where to start. It's like,
Right.
dude, come with us. We're doing these cool things,
Yeah.
But but it's a kind of like a catch-22 because people are like, you're not supposed to let the left hand know what the right hand's doing, and there you are doing this thing, and
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
But there's so much stuff that we did that the cameras weren't on for, that we don't even talk about, that you know what I'm saying, like
Yeah.
that never made it to social media, that
Right.
we just were able to you know be a blessing and do some life-changing stuff.
Yeah,
So
it's documented here and it's documented
yeah,
here.
here,
Yeah, and
yeah.
that's yeah.
And so but think those times where like the pride, and the ego takes place, and it's a look at me thing,
Mhm.
and I had to repent for that, because it's easy to get caught up in that too. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I don't ever want to be that again. I don't want to be that look at me, for all the things that I'm doing for the Lord. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, dude, I'm just a scumbag that had some opportunities, and I said yes. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody has an opportunity to say yes. And there was a guy in Tijuana. We're doing a documentary for my boy Jason Page. So it was me and my brother and Jason.
Mhm.
We're down in TJ, and we my little brother knew some guys down in TJ, and the documentary was like human trafficking and stuff. So we're down there, and there was a guy who some people would say, they would maybe um, count him out. He was deported from LA to San Diego, or to TJ,
Mhm.
and like he was selling dope there in front of us. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so we were filming him from the neck down and just doing these interviews. Um, so at the end of it, we had asked him if he wanted us to bring him anything next time we came back, and so he asked us for a basketball. I was like, dude, you're as short as me, bro. I know you ain't playing ball. Like, what do you want basketball for? You know? And he was like, no, no, man, not for me, for the kids in the neighborhood, you know? And so yeah, I mean, he asked to bless the kids in the neighborhood, and I'm like, dude, you know, I'm supposed to be a Christian, and I'm not even taking care of kids in the neighborhood, and you're over here doing the stuff that you do. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And like, and you're thinking of that, dude. Like, who do I think I am? You know?
Right.
And so it was cool, man. Like he was just like, man, I've done so many awful things in my life that I just want to do this one good thing. Can you help me do this one good thing? And so that was the seed that planted love thy neighbor. And
Wow.
so he the one guy who most people would look down on, and he was the unlikely leader that said yes to something.
Mhm.
And I said yes to his challenge, you know, and a movement was born out of that, and we were able to bless tens of thousands of people from that. And so sometimes, all those people that were blessed from my yes were out of that one thing that we're talking about. Like, people are just waiting for you to say yes to your thing,
Yeah. Dang, so
so that all these other people can be blessed by it. And so you know, don't count people out, and make sure you're doing it with the right posture of the heart. Because at in the beginning, I had the right posture. In the beginning, I was like, yeah, dude, let's do this. And then I think you get caught up in it, and then you're doing TV stuff, and you're doing interviews, and you're doing, and it's like, dude, I'm way off now. And when you do it as the look at me, it's the wrong heart. But when you're doing it as, dude, Lord, I just want people to see you and me.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
different. You know.
All right. Last few questions. So
Sorry,
good.
I can keep going on, bro.
So
I
good. So
rambled on.
good. Um, if your younger self could see you right now, what would they be most surprised by?
What would my younger self be surprised by? Probably my gray hair, my chubbiness. Like, dude, you don't work too many tacos, bro. What are you doing? Stay away from the tacos. Uh, I don't know, man. Probably settling down. Like, you got one woman. Uh, I wasn't very committed, back in
Mm,
the day. I don't know. Being a dad, I think I never thought, you know, I'd be a dad. I'm about to be a grandfather now.
wow, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, man. And yeah, it's my first grandchild,
Right.
and so yeah, I think I don't know. I think in my younger self always thought that they were going to be involved in the entertainment industry. I guess in an aspect I still am,
Hmm.
but you know, I think just being committed to the Lord is a whole other thing. I probably being this old too. I don't think I ever thought I grew up to be 52.
It's good. It's good. What do you want people to still be saying about you long after you're gone? And are you living in a way that makes that possible?
What was your answer?
What was my answer? My answer is I think that you are in a place in your life right now where you, you're working in an environment of legacy, and you've seen what Morris Cerullo did. I think you've had some situations in your life that have put you on a path of, wanting people, I think, to know that you are a servant of the Most High God, and you're gonna say yes to Him and His call on your life. That's what my answer would be.
I love it. I'll take that one. I'll take that one.
Flip it.
I love it. Thank you. Here, let's keep that one. I'm gonna have you write my bio out for me and everything too. I love it. Thank you.
um. All right. Last one then. If you could send a message to the entire world, what would you say in the next 30 seconds?
Repent.
Where we're at, man. That
Dude,
was the message this Sunday at our church was, the last day.
I mean, that's what Jesus said. So John the Baptist said, right? Repent. I mean, I don't know, man. We're living in crazy times, and um, I mean, it even goes for me. Like, what I'm saying? Like, I'm far from perfect, but it's, even me. like to just repent. Like I think we're closer than ever for the return of Jesus, and um, it's a scary time to be living in. Yeah, we just gotta work and getting right. And sometimes it feels hypocritical saying some of the stuff that I say and all that. And it's like, man, Lord, just remove that, remove that from my heart. But um, yeah, man, repent, just to grow closer to the Lord, grow closer to Jesus, and you know, put all your junk aside, put all your worries aside, and all those. Just fall in love with Jesus, and everything else is going to work itself.
Amen. 100%. I want to put your social. Yeah. You have personal. What's the
Yeah, I
personal
think it's
social
all the
media?
same. Connected with RT and at LTN Movement for the Love Thy Neighbor stuff, and the Moses Factor book. But no, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And you can find all my stuff on there too. The retreat, the Connected Men's Retreat, um, the Love Thy Neighbor at LTN Movement, and it's all there on Instagram. That's kind of where I'm at with everything. LoveThyNeighborMovement.com. Um, we have some history and some background on Love Thy Neighbor. Like I said, I'm just kind of pausing everything for now. So just reach out, man. I'd love to come, share about the book. Um, if anyone's listening and wants to um, pitch in and get some stuff that allows us to get some books in bulk, would love to do that as well, so we can bless some of the inmates and some of the youth. And we're creating curriculum right now, like a 6-week curriculum to be able to go and speak to youth based on the principles of the book. So it's all like unlikely leader stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all for those that feel like I did, you know, before writing the book. And I know that there's more like me out there. So boom, there it is. So if uh, if you feel like I did, reach out.
Alrighty. Thank you very much, Ruben
Thank you.
Torres.
Appreciate you, brother.